Fix Monday before you get to Tuesday. Don't be a dumbass.
Yeah.
When you get to Tuesday, fix Tuesday before you get to Wednesday. And you'll find out when you get to Friday, you've had 4 great days in a row.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Home Service Hustle. I'm your host, Jonathan Banister, and today's guest has been working in the HVAC and plumbing industry since he was 13 years old. And yes, that is well over 40 years in this business. His specialty is employee retention, and this is going to be a hot topic right now for the world that we're living in. He is about accountability using KPIs and using his call-by-call management and sales over the phone system. Guys, today's guest is Mr. Kelly Weeks. You don't want to miss it. Let's go. All right, here we go. So, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Home Service Hustle. I'm your host, Jonathan Banister, and today I am with Mr. Kelly Weeks. And Mr. Weeks has been in this industry since he was 13 years old. I will let him kind of tell you how many years that has been. Kelly, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Well, other than my stint in the military and a few years in college, it's probably been about 40 years.
40 years.
Yes.
So tell me how that started. So it says you started when you were 13. So I'm guessing you helped your father or family member, grandfather?
My grandfather, he had his own business, and when they were switching from swamp coolers in West Texas and southeastern New Mexico, and they were putting split cooling systems in homes that didn't have air conditioning before, they had to have someone that could crawl up in attics that weren't designed for ductwork to be in and insulate hard pipe and rectangular pipe, things like that. And so that was my job when I first started. I was the insulation guy.
So was it love at first sight, or what made you want to stay in this industry?
No, to be honest with you, I didn't like it. So he had an all around company. They did electrical, plumbing, and HVAC.
Okay.
Yeah, so he had me try each one out, and of course, I had to learn a little bit of something on every one of them because he said a man can't take care of his own home if he don't know how to repair it. And so, to be honest with you, I liked plumbing more, even when I had to have a shovel and a pickaxe. I would rather do plumbing at the time. But both plumbing and air conditioning both have served me well. Done both all through the years, and the one I disliked the most was electrical. So that's where I got today. Is I'll do mostly plumbing and air conditioning.
That's awesome. So then you did that up until you went into the military, and then how long were you in the military?
4 years.
Okay, and then transitioned right back almost as soon as you got out.
I was in college, and so at nights I would run calls for a company in West Texas, and then I would work in the summertime for them. And then, of course, I got married, had a couple of kids, and sold cars for 3 years, and did really well at that. And when I had my first divorce, I moved to Houston and started working as a pipe fitter because it kind of went in with the air conditioning and plumbing works that I've already done before. And so I just kind of naturally got back into the industry and worked for TD Industries in the Metroplex, and it just kind of grew from there.
So tell me, where is Kelly today, and what is that 40 years? What has been, what would you say is the number one thing that you truly enjoy the most, whether it's mentoring, training, other people? Is it more on the operation side, the sales side? What does it look like?
Well, I know this probably sounds a little cliche that I enjoy all of it. I really do. I love tracking KPIs. I love coaching people. But the thing that I like the most is seeing my technicians and our customer experience specialists. I love seeing them be successful because that's the most important thing, is that without their success, who am I anyway? And so that's what we train on more than anything else. We never train on sales at all. We do train on, how to talk to customers, things like that, but we talk about the customer experience. We're all about white glove treatment.
Now, let's dive a little deeper into the accountabilities of KPIs. What does that formula look like for you guys? Why is it so important, and why should any contractor that's going to be listening to this feel the same way about KPIs and the tracking of the numbers?
Well, I can tell you, if you don't believe in KPIs, you're probably not being very successful. You might feel like you are, but you're probably that guy that has a barrel with money in it. You reach in, there's money, you're happy. When you hit the bottom, you're not happy, right?
Right.
So I do forecasting year round, and I do it by the week, by the month, by the quarter, by the half year, and by the year.
Okay.
And when I'm tracking my KPIs, I look at average ticket. I look at closing percentages versus opportunities. And I know a lot of people in our industry look at opportunities that they're 7 years or 8 years and older. I look at 5 years and older. We track our indoor air quality based on 2 years and above. We do a lot of tracking on extended warranties. And I do all of this because I don't believe in the shoulder season. My technicians don't get less hours in the winter, whenever it's not really cold here in Texas. We don't have that kind of an atmosphere because we have people that call all day, every day to set up work for them, and we set the expectation right with the customer when we do that. But the main thing about the KPIs is if you're not tracking your close rate, your daily revenue, your goals that you're trying to hit, and have what I like to call reach goals, where you set a goal, you know that if you hit a certain revenue at a certain EBITDA that you're going to be profitable. I always try to stretch those out a little bit so that it looks better for me at the end of the month, but it also gives my guys a little bit of an opportunity to overachieve. And so when we're doing that, we do it by call management. We call on every customer with a manager on every job, and we track what's going on with it. Part of that is that they have to give 5 solutions at every job. If without those 5 solutions, how does a customer have an opportunity to know what's going to make their home more comfortable and more healthy? And that's all we work on is comfort, health, and the customer experience. And because of that, we're able to hit most of our KPIs, and our guys understand what their KPIs, they understand why they're there, and they actually use peer pressure on each other to achieve it. I don't even have to push it that hard.
I love that. I love the 5 solutions at each job. Kind of leads me to, because I know there's going to be a lot of owners that'll listen to this and go, that sounds great. We should implement something like that, or we've tried that in the past and we couldn't get our guys to do it. Because I've been in this space long enough that I see how hard it is to get the technicians to offer a review request to the customer. So how are you getting, what does the training look like that you're making sure that every single technician at every job is giving the 5 different solutions, is going through the, very structured solution that you guys have put into place? What are you doing to ensure that it's taking place? And, my second question here is, what are you doing if someone is not following y'all's step-by-step plan?
All right. Well, let's talk about the last one first.
Okay.
So everybody worries, oh my gosh, it's so hard to attract employees. It's so hard to retain employees. It's how are you doing recruiting? And they're paying thousands upon thousands, $10,000 at a pop just to get one employee at the door. And I get it. It does cost a lot of money to get people to come to work for you. But when my phone rings 15, 20 times a day, it's because people are trying to come and work for me. And the reason they're trying to do that is because I hold them accountable. And just like when you're raising your family, your kids are going to be one of 2 ways. They're either going to be accountable and understand that their actions have results, and there's accountability behind that, or they're going to be just wild and crazy and do whatever they want, cry and whine every time you tell them no. And so we set accountability factors. And one of the ways that we do that is I firmly believe that you cannot do a proper job for a customer and give proper solutions if you're not there for at least 90 minutes. The worst thing you can do for your customer is be there for 30 minutes or less and try to give them a $1,500 bill. I would tell you no all day long. You've only been in my house for 15 minutes and it's $1,500 already? Heck no, I'm not
Right.
doing that. But what I will do is I'll tell my guys, you have to be accountable for your time. You're going to take your time. You're going to look at the entire system. You're going to check everything that's out there. You're going to check the wiring. You're going to check all of the connectors. You're going to check all of the sensors, all the safeties. You're going to check everything, not just what the problem is or not just what the maintenance requires. You're going to check everything. And then when you give your solutions, you're going to give the proper solutions. You're going to give solutions for repair and or replacement if that's necessary. But you're going to give legitimate solutions to a customer so they can decide how they're going to make their home healthier and happier. That's the whole thing. Is it comfortable and healthy? And if your home is comfortable and healthy, then you're happy to be there. And if they don't do this, so they get 3 calls a day to start with, and that's what we try to stay at, between 3 and 4, no more than 4, because we want to make sure that they're giving that customer proper time to know that they have value behind what we're doing. And if they run through 1 or 2 calls with what I call an MFO or a DFO, which is basically a ticket that's under $129 for maintenance or demand, and they get to that second call and they hit another one, then they have to talk to me. And when they talk to me, they know that the conversation is going to be real and it's going to be to the point. And if they don't have a legitimate reason for those MFOs or DFOs, and they didn't give 5 solutions and they didn't stay there for the proper amount of time and do what they're supposed to do to build the value, then they go home for the day. And they understand that.
What does the MFO and DFO stand for?
Maintenance fee only or demand fee only.
Okay.
So anything that's under $129 or less is what I consider a $0 ticket. I didn't make any money off of it. I didn't even break even.
Yep.
And so we look for, on our maintenance tickets, we look for an average ticket of $750, and on our demand tickets, we're looking for an average ticket of $1,250. And they're accountable for that. That doesn't mean they're going to do that on every job. Not every customer is going to say yes. Not every customer is not going to ask to take bids from other companies. I know that that's going to happen sometimes. But if you show the proper value, there's no reason you can't close 92% plus at every job that you're at.
And what kind of efficiency rate do you guys do you instill or make sure that the bare minimum?
The bare minimum for what? What efficiency rate? Are you talking about the systems themselves?
No, on the technicians, as far as their efficiency on the actual service ticket itself.
Okay, so what I'm looking for is for, let's say, a demand call. If they run 3 demand calls in a day, they should be able to run $3,600.
Okay.
They should be able to do that in an 8-hour day. Now, you and I both know that sometimes you're trying to pull a blower wheel or something. Maybe it's a tight attic. It's a little bit more difficult. Then we adjust for that. Mm-hmm. And we adjust our what we charge for it also. And so all I'm looking for out of my guys every day is, if it's a maintenance tech and he's a green maintenance tech, then I'm looking for him to run about 2,000 to 2,100 a day. If he's a pretty good maintenance tech and he knows how to do his solutions and he's very efficient on what he's doing, and he's actually getting done with all of his solutions and diagnoses in the 90 minutes that he's supposed to be there, I'm actually looking for him to probably hit somewhere around $900 to $1,100 a day. I mean, a ticket, which is about $3,000 a day. But my demand technicians and my sales techs, so my demand technicians, on a 3-call day, they should be able to hit $3,600. And on my sales techs, the minimum rate that I'm looking for there is for 2 sales a day and average $16,000 a sale.
Okay. And how many are the sales guys running? How many leads are they running?
They normally can run 3 a day if they're working a 12-hour day, but mostly we keep them around 2 because I believe in a work-life balance. I want them to be happy at home and at work.
Okay.
And so our sales techs, we set them 2 calls a day. They get 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. And so doing that, I cut down on what they think their opportunities are. They know they're only going to get those 2 opportunities. And they're allowed to be at their customer's house up to 4 hours doing heat loads, looking at insulation values, duct work, everything.
Now, is this a selling tech or is this a full-time comfort consultant?
It's a selling tech. I don't believe in comfort consultants.
Okay. So now walk me through that. Now, I completely understand the model of preferring the selling tech and not believing in the comfort consultant model. But what is the technician doing other than selling for you guys if he's, allowed up to 4 hours at each call and he's only, usually going to be given 2 a day?
My sales techs only go on 8+ year old systems.
Okay.
Whether it's maintenance or demand, they only go on 8+ year old systems. So they get 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon.
Okay.
They're in constant contact with their call-by-call manager. So I would say with our sales techs, they split it with the call-by-call manager. They do 7% goes to the sales tech, 3% goes to the call-by-call manager. And what they're doing is they're working together for the sales tech to do all the diagnosis, all the research, get all the square footage, make sure that the system that's in there is the right tonnage, all this stuff. And then the call by call manager does the sales over the phone. And with that, we're closing about 97.3%.
Wow. That's unbelievable. That's awesome. So now, while we're still right here talking about it, how long have you not believed in the comfort consultant model? And then just kind of tell me Kelly's reason behind that.
So I'm a salesman by nature. I used to sell cars. Okay. And then I was a service tech, and then I was a sales tech, then I was a comfort advisor. And what I noticed is when I would go out on a job as a comfort advisor, that when I walked in, the customer automatically went to, I don't want you to sell me this. Unless they were looking for a quote, they didn't want me to sell them. And so it would take you sometimes all day long to close a deal. And it just was crazy. And I had a pretty good closing rate. I closed at about 87%. And my last year of doing as a comfort advisor, just doing residential sales, I did right at 3.7 million, I think, in sales. And but you have to really hustle and work hard for that. And sometimes you'd have to run 4 or 5 a day because you would get turned down before you finally hit one. And what I realized is when I was a sales tech, it was easier for me because I would talk about the diagnosis and what was wrong with the system first and let them naturally lead themselves into the sale. And so it was a little bit easier for me. And what would get in the way there is I knew whenever I was as a sales tech that I might get 6 calls in a day. Well, you can't run 6 calls in a day in less than 12 hours unless you're just hustling. And at 12 hours, you'd be breaking your back trying to get it done, and you might get 2 or 3 sales in a week. And it just wasn't convenient for me as a tech. And so now I know as my techs are out there, it's not convenient for them. And so we use the call by call manager as like an account manager that he talks to the customer before the technician gets there. And then once the technician's out there, he talks to the technician about what was offered to the customer before if we've been out there, what we've seen out there, how old the unit is. He looks at all the pictures as they come across, and then they work together on how they're going to do their presentation on the 5 solutions. The technician does the presentation on the 5 solutions. And during that presentation, we have a peace of mind option, which means new equipment that starts at, let's say, $150 a month, $89 a month, whatever it is. And when the customer starts talking about that, then he brings the account manager on to talk to them about going from 14 SEER all the way up to a 20 SEER inverter system or something like that. And so it's easier to sell over the phone because you're not mimicking the customer's reactions to you. You know, when a customer crosses their arms, you automatically start thinking, okay, what did I say wrong and how can I overcome this? Well, when you're on the phone, you can't see that. So you automatically just are able to get over any kind of obstacles or any kind of thing that the customer asks you because it's very natural for you that way. You're not mimicking how they're reacting to you. You're just talking. And it just really seems to work well for us.
So at what time does the selling by phone take place? Once the selling technician has already gone out there, ran his, calculations and did the full diagnostic, then at some point, how does that process work for y'all?
So what we do is we try to get the customer to the table. And what we mean by to the table, we want him to sit down at the table with the customer and hope that everyone is there that needs to make that be part of the decision making. So if it's a husband and wife, you want them both there, both aware. Okay. And if they're not there, then you try to see, can you get them on FaceTime? Can you talk to them on speakerphone while you're talking to the other spouse? And so they're sitting at the table and they're going over the diagnosis and going from the Band-Aid repair all the way up to the peace of mind repair. Okay. And if the customer picks a repair, we do the repair and move on. And then we have an outbound person that calls and follows up on those calls. If they don't pick a repair, that's when he says, well, I need to call the account manager and let him know what's going on here because he wants to make sure that you've got the full 5-star customer experience. We want to make sure that we give you the white glove treatment. And when we leave here, we want a 5-star review from you, whether you purchase from us or not.
Yeah.
And so he makes that phone call, and the call by call manager actually talks to the technician, not the customer in the beginning, and asking him, okay, did you explain to them the warranties on this? Did you explain to them the value of having this in their home? Did you tell them what surge protectors do for them? All of this stuff. And as you're doing that, the customer automatically starts replying, taking up for the technician because he's just there diagnosing it. That's all he's doing. He's not selling. He's just diagnosing them, telling them the solution. And it gives them an easy segue into discussing it with the customer. And I'm telling you, they always pick the one of the top three options. 80% of the time, they'll pick one of the top three options. And they do that because now you're talking to them in a way that they can understand it. You're not trying to sell them something. All you're doing is going back over the solutions and letting them know that you care. But then, of course, we know at the end of the day, once they know that you care, you have to do the job right.
So it goes from the selling tech does the diagnostic. He lays out the options, either repair or replacement, but all options are just given. And then from that point, what if the customer's like, do they ever decide they want to go ahead and take an option to replace right then and there?
Yes, they'll say, well, the peace of mind sounds better to me, or they'll ask the sales tech and or a demand tech or whatever it is. They'll say, well, the peace of mind, that's going to give us a better warranty. We don't have to worry about anything breaking down over the next 10 years. Y'all are offering maintenance agreements that run the full time of that you got the system. We have the 10-year parts and labor warranty. And we also offer an 11 to 99 one-time replacement on the condenser if the compressor goes out, on heat pumps and condensers. And so when they start talking about wanting to do that, and then they want true pricing on it, he says, well, let me call your account manager because he's going to have to walk you through that. Okay. We want to find out at that point, he's going to ask them before he calls the account manager, he's going to ask them, if you were to decide to go with a new system today, are you going to do financing? Are you going to pay cash, credit? How are you going to pay for this? And if the customer says financing, he will run the financing before he makes that phone call. Okay. We all know once you run the financing, they're 90% sold.
Right.
Now all you got to do is walk them into picking that 16 SEER 2-stage or above. It's as simple as that.
Okay. So yeah, I don't think I've ever quite heard this model, and quite frankly, like I like it because all the selling tech is really doing is given the options, and so the options that he gives has no pricing, correct?
Not on the equipment. All he does is give a bare minimum payment. So, like, let's say that it's a 3-ton electric system. He's going to say these start at like $89 a month. Okay. Now, everything else he does give a price with a finance amount. Okay. Because we'll finance anything that's $500 or up.
So on the repair, he's given the pricing to do the repair that day.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then, but on the different system replacement options, is he giving pricing on all those?
No.
Okay. And that's where he makes the phone call.
Happens over the phone. Yes.
Okay. All right. And how long have you been doing this model?
5 years. I do it for plumbing and for air conditioning. It works great.
And does this selling model have a name, Kelly?
It's called call-by-call management.
Okay. Well, I've got that written down. So all right. So where did this concept come from?
Well, everybody's done this in the past, and there's a lot of people that still do this. Everybody lives by the 80-20 rule. Mm-hmm. So your top 30% or whatever of your technicians, you just let them run and gun and do what they did because they were hustlers. They were going to make money. The middle guys, you coached and trained them whenever you needed to, but you always had that 20% that you had to be on them all the time to get any kind of results. And I used to live by this model too. Every 3 months, I would let the bottom 20% go and hire people to replace them and keep doing that over and over and over again. Well, we all know it costs a lot of money to hire employees. It takes less money and less time to retain an employee and have good culture and not so much turnover than it does to just keep hiring and firing and hiring and firing and hiring and firing. So I started trying to figure out a way that takes care of this. And there's several other companies out there that do this also, and they do it in different ways. But I got tired of the 80-20 rule. I don't want to keep 80% of my people and keep rotating 20%. I want to keep 100% if I can, as long as they're good people with good character and they are doing the honest thing when they're out there, and they know that when they're doing the right thing, that it makes everybody happier, and it makes them happier at home. They don't have so much trouble at work. There's not a lot of chaos at their jobs. And I like for people in my offices when they come in for training or anything else, I want them to be joking and being happy and talking to each other. I like to have a really strong culture.
What is the psychology maybe behind this selling method? Is it not having that that pressure? Is it from the customer standpoint that they're not feeling the pressure of someone trying to sell them right then and there, and that they're just given some options, and that there's actually someone that either has more experience, or that's kind of their job is to do the final closing, but it's done over the phone? Like, I want to understand that a little better.
Okay. So back in the day, you'd hire a service manager to run 10 to 15, 20 guys.
Okay.
And he was basically a technical guy that also made sure everybody followed the rules. And I was a service manager, and I'm just telling you, trying to keep people to follow the rules is just insane in this industry anymore, because it's everybody has different ways that they do things. And as long as they're not doing something that's going to hurt your business or hurt the customer, then, you know, you have rules because you have HR, you have all this other stuff you have to do. But at the end of the day, you'll have a technician that's really good technician, but he doesn't know how to talk to a customer. He doesn't know how to sell. And so why should he suffer in our industry? And because someone knows how to sell something, because they sold used cars like I did, I sold used cars for a little bit, but you'll have that guy that can come in and he can sell anybody anything, but his customer rating is horrible. It's horrendous. So as I was kind of working through this and learning it myself and kind of making notes and changing it here and changing it there, I brought it down to two things. Number one, let a technician be a technician. Let him do the technical stuff, help him set his solutions, let him present the solutions without having any kind of thought on trying to sell it and close it. Let him give the options to the customer, and then have someone on the other end that's worried more about the customer experience than he is worried about the revenue, and let him talk the customer through it if they don't want to pick a solution at that time. And it gives you an opportunity at the end of the day to have a 4.9% Google rating. If you're on Angie's List, your rating there is going to be at least 4.9 or better. And one of the things it does for your technician, he's not afraid at the end if they decided to pick nothing at all from either one of these guys or women or whatever it is, from your call by call manager or your service tech. But he knows that he did everything right and he did everything he could. So he's not afraid to ask the customer, why, other than price, why would you not do business with us? What did we not do to show you the value or the competence in what we do? And when the customer will tell you that, even if they don't buy from you, you can learn.
Yeah. All right. So do you have, obviously, what is your, perfect model of a selling technician? Do they look different than just your regular everyday technician as far as looks and appearance and the way that they talk to customers that are going to be, kind of perfect for this role?
So I'll tell you, I went to Cracker Barrel for breakfast this morning. I had a waiter come up and he's waiting on me. And me and Nathan are there, right? You know Nathan.
Yeah.
And the guy walks up and he looks me right in the eye. He's got a goatee like I do, but it's clean cut. He's kind of young. And I just asked him point blank, how long have you been a waiter? How long have you been in this industry? Well, I started bussing tables when I was 17. Okay. Is this what you want to do for your lifetime job? Is this what you're happy with? Well, his first response is, no, one day I want to be a boss. I want to own my own company. I want to be my own boss. I said, okay. I said, so if this isn't what you want to do for your lifetime, but you do have to pay your bills, right? He's like, absolutely. I said, well, this is Nathan Dickinson. I want y'all to exchange numbers. I want you to call Nathan today. He's going to offer you a job as a maintenance tech. You're not going to know anything. You're not going to know a thing about it. I said, I'm going to train you for 4 weeks. And after 4 weeks, you're going to make about $58,000 a year. How would you like to do that? That's my perfect guy. The guy that wants to do the right thing.
Okay.
Clean cut. He tucks his shirt in. His shoes are clean. When his uniform is too dirty or too dingy and he knows that it doesn't look well, you don't have to ask him to go put it in the correct bin for it to be replaced by your uniform company. He automatically does it. I like people who understand that accountability means something. When they come into meetings, when I go out on a job, I never have gone out on a job in the last 6 years that I didn't pull up and my guys' shirts are tucked in. Their boots aren't tucked into their pants aren't tucked in their boots like they're out walking through cow slop. They look like what they're supposed to look like. They look like a technician who's there to do a job and keep the customer's home clean.
Yeah. No, and I feel like, here in Texas, we're lucky, that we don't have all of the same standards and licensing and things that maybe, like, let's say Oklahoma or some of these other states are a little more strict on the way that they're journeymen and that they have to work underneath someone. And I agree. I mean, I completely say, go find the person first. Let's go find, their appearance, their attitude, their approach to life in general, and then let's mold them into the perfect technician.
Absolutely.
And I think doing it that way it puts the, it kind of puts you back in control as the employer, because when you have to start, like you were saying, paying $5,000 and $10,000 recruiting fees, and you're pretty much, saying I'm at the mercy of these technicians, your back's against the wall. And, that's got to be a shitty feeling. But when you can go to Cracker Barrel and enjoy a good breakfast and meet someone that apparently, made an impact on you for a split second, and then you introduce them to the owner of the company and you approach them that way, the other guys that are working for you, where here I was when I started out this podcast earlier, and I said, well, how do you get the guys to do that 5-star service, that entire presentation? How do you make sure they're doing every step of it? Because I have seen over the 7 or 8 years that I've been in this space, the owner struggle of, I just can't get them to ask for the review. Oh, I can't get them to, present all of the options that they're supposed to. I can't get them to talk about IAQ. And I'm like, well, why? Right? Like, they're wearing your uniform out there for a reason. Like, why are they wearing your uniform? Why do they have your shirt and hat on? Why don't they have your local, basketball or football jersey on? Right? Like, why aren't they just wearing whatever they want to wear? And it's, well, they have to do that because that's a requirement. Well, then why is it everything else a requirement? Why are they not required to give 5 options, right? Or, 5 different solutions that will bring them more comfort, better health, whatever those 3 solutions were that you were talking about. Why are they not asking every single customer for a review?
Right.
Why are they not taking video and snapping pictures of the job, whether it's to upload into dispatch software or if it's to help some other type of software that's going to help with your marketing, your SEO, whatever that may be? So I like that you are finding good people first that are hungry, that you can train, that you can mold in exactly how you want to. And I think it just applies the pressure on the other guys. And you don't have to ask those questions, is everyone doing every step of this like we're requiring? Because they know that they are replaceable and that you guys aren't going to be paying $5,000 and $10,000, recruiting fees to get the best of the best, because you can train good people to be great technicians.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't use a recruiter. Now, when I worked for the Wrench Group, we had recruiters. I worked at other large corporations where we had recruiters. And I can say this with all honesty, that recruiters call me and are like, hey, do you know anyone in Kentucky that does plumbing? Do you know anyone in Illinois that's an HVAC guy that's union certified? Do you know this guy, or do you know this kind of people? And I can send them to people that I know in those areas that I know are good people that I've met at different trade shows or whatever it might be, or even on Facebook, and have talked with them extensively and things like that. And the reason I don't have to use recruiters is because guys that don't know anything know that I can teach them something where they can be successful and make a living. That's what we're here for. We're here for our success, of course. I mean, I've got to pay my bills, right? I mean, right. I got to buy a new truck next year. So
you got to get a new green egg.
But at the end of the day, how can I be successful if the people around me aren't successful? That's what it's all about. And so how are you successful? Well, you're successful by training people to do things the right way because it's the right thing to do. You're successful by making sure your customer service is above everybody else's. And what does that look like? Well, to some people, it's about the Google reviews, and we're a 5-star company, and we're 5-star this, and we're 5-star that. Well, you know what I call bullshit. In all honesty, you're going to have a customer at least once a week that's not happy with what you're doing. How do you respond to that customer? Well, normally I'll call them up and try to talk to them and see what's going on, what happened, and let's talk about both sides of what we saw. And if I can't fix it, well, not every customer is my customer. I'll just tell you they're not, because I probably charge in the top 3% of what it costs to do business out there, because we have high overhead, and I got to make my money. I mean, hell, that's part of the overhead, right? And my GM's got to make her money. That's part of the overhead. The owner's got to make his money, because if he don't make his money, he's not going to let me work any longer.
Right.
And so at the end of the day, I need these guys to be not just successful. I need them to be overachievers. I need them to want to be successful for themselves, for their families. What is their why? Why do they do this?
Yeah.
Why do you come on and do this podcast? Why do we do anything? We're doing it for a reason. And once we know what that reason is, now we can figure out how to get there. And once you can teach a guy how to get to his why, he will trust you forever. And that's what I do.
And so that obviously is where you've become so good at the retention with the employees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had a guy text me last night. He said, "Hey, I just left so-and-so company. Are you interested in me coming to work for you?" He's never worked for me before. I've talked to him 3 times, twice on phone, once in person. I said, "Absolutely. Ask your wife if it's okay for you to come work for me, and if I can meet with you and your wife." Why do I want to meet with his wife? Because I need to understand what her motivation is. Because she's the one that's going to make him happy at home. I'm the one that has to make him happy at work. And if he's not happy in one of them, he's not going to do well at either one.
That's right. And so is that, so walk me through. So I know that you said employee retention is something that you are super passionate about. You are obviously know that you're really good at it. And you just kind of explained, helping those people understand what their why is. You just mentioned, wanting to make sure that the husband and wife, that both of their mindset going to work for you is, something that everybody can be on, I guess, rowing the boat in the same direction, I guess you'd say. And so what is your process for hiring people, for retaining people, for firing people? Let's just kind of talk about, because I feel like this is the hot topic right now, that everyone is struggling to find good people, and sometimes they're paying, a lot more money than they should for, in my opinion, people that have, just bad ways that are set in. And I think those are the hardest people, in my opinion, to have work for you, because they're set in those ways, right? And they've been at companies where they've been able to get away and do whatever they want to do. And when you try to come in and put your systems in place, they're just going to try to buck.
So there's a couple of things. So the first thing I want to say is, quit doing bonuses. Why are you going to give somebody a hiring bonus? Do you really have to give somebody money because you are such a horrible company that you can't get them to come work for you? I don't do hiring bonuses. Now, I've worked at companies that did, and so they did, and so I did, but I don't do it personally. I had a guy that wanted to come to work for me. He was coming back from Afghanistan. He was over there working for some company that was doing some air conditioning work and whatever else. And he'd been over there for about a year. He's ready to come back to the States. He's going to be living here in Texas. And during our last Zoom conversation, he said, "Well, this company in Denton's going to offer me a $4,000 sign-on bonus." And I said, "Well, if that's what you're looking for, that's what you need to do, because I'm not going to give you a bonus. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a way of life. I'm going to give you a way to be successful. And so you go to work for them, and midsummer, whenever you don't have any kind of quality work-life balance and things aren't working well, you call me, you give them back their $4,000, you come to work for me, and we'll do this." So when I sit down with a guy and I'm talking to him or a woman, and we're discussing what it's like to be a technician working for me, I discuss with them about how the hours work, how the overtime works, how the on-call works, because I still am doing on-call. I'm trying to figure out a way not to do on-call, but I'm still doing that. And then I start talking to them about what it looks like for their family while they work here. And I'll just ask them, are you married? Do you have a significant other, a spouse, whatever? And if you do, and we decide that we're going to give you an offer letter and you accept it, once you've accepted, I'd like for my wife, you and your wife, to go out and have dinner on me. We're not going to talk business. I'm going to introduce myself to your wife, explain to her what I do. I'm going to introduce you to my wife, explain to her what you do. And then we're going to sit down and we're just going to chit chat. Because we need to know that we can find a common ground that we can work with together that makes us successful. And I'm very upfront and honest about this. If we don't have that common ground and all it is about money, then we're going to fail. Because if it was just about money, then only the richest people would get rich. Only the richest people would make money. If you find out that it's about the technician, it's about the customer before it is the company, revenue will follow that. It's a byproduct of what you do. And that's what I tell people all the time. You're looking for a return on an investment. Look at it like a three-legged stool. Is it good for the customer? Is it good for the employee? And is it good for the company? If it's good for all three, you're going to be successful. If it's bad for one of them, you're going to follow. And so I go out, I have dinner with them, with their wife. We talk about what they like to do on the weekends, where they're going on their next vacation. What does their dream home look like? What can make you happier than 2 years ago? I had an installer, a lead installer. He was so awesome. He was so good. And he struggled and struggled and struggled. And finally, he understood it and he got it. He started doing everything right. He didn't cut corners, so he didn't have to go back to jobs for free, and he didn't have to do all this stuff. And he came to me one day and he said, I just wrote a check for the down payment of my wife's dream home. Thank you so much, Kelly, for helping me do that. And that's success to me. That made me feel good because he feels like I helped him do that. Well, all I did was teach him how not to cut the corners, how to do the right thing, how to do his job a little bit better, be a little more efficient in what you're doing, making sure you have all the parts on your truck, making sure you have everything you need when you leave the shop, help go back and forth to the supply house. And if you do that, you make more money, or you make the same amount of money in less hours, which means you're making more money. And you get to spend more time with your family, with your kids. You get to go watch ball games. You get to go have fun. And that's what life is about. It's about enjoyment. It's not about working your ass to the ground and not enjoying it. Why do owners and private equity people, why do they are the only ones that get to enjoy life? Shoot, I enjoy life. I go on vacations with my family. I take time out for my grandkids. I took time out for my kids. I coach my son's football and baseball teams. I coached my daughter's volleyball teams. And I did all that while I worked in this industry. And I did it because I understood how to be more successful without working 18-hour days.
Yeah, I love, your thought process behind having that work life, home life balance, and that there is a place, and if the process is rolled out the right way, that there's no reason why everyone in the company cannot enjoy, work when we need to work, but also have that family time. I think a lot of company owners just don't see it that way. They run everything off of the call volume, and they run everything by, that this is just the way that it has to be. And I feel, kind of like you explaining to the guy in Denton that was going to take the $4,000 bonus. And you said, well, look, call me whenever they pretty much have no respect for your personal time whatsoever. When you're going to be working from sun up to sundown, you're controlled by the hours that they need you to work. So I think that that's got to have a huge impact on your retention ratio and the people that want to work for you and the people that are calling you and asking you, do you have something available? Because, you're right. Without having that time, that family time and that downtime for kids and grandkids, it's like, well, what are you doing it for?
Well, I can tell you, as a service tech, one time I knew my general manager left every day at 4:00. He came in at 7, he left at 4. Okay, well, the requirement was I had to be in my first job by 8, which I always was, but I had to work until the day was done, right? And I remember one night I called him, it's 11 o'clock at night, and I'm on like my 5th or 6th call. I've had a great day. I made really good money for the company. Everything was going good when I got on this one job and I stepped through a ceiling. So I've got to call the GM first. I call the GM. I'm talking to him, and he's pissed off that I called him at 11 o'clock at night. Well, this could have waited till tomorrow morning. I said, really? Because it's important to the customer, and it's important to me that the customer knows that I care. That's what's part of my success. And I remember thinking, who the hell is he to get off at 4 o'clock when I'm the one bringing the revenue in? Yeah, maybe he sits in a marketing meeting and makes some decision on what's going to be on Google or pay per click, how much money he's going to spend on pay per click or whatever else. But what right does he have to go home at 4 o'clock and say, my day's done?
Right.
When is your day done? Your day's done whenever every customer's is happy and every one of your technicians are back home in bed with their family at dinner, whatever, and everybody's comfortable. That's when your day's done. I used to have a thing when I was a serviceman, and I still do it today, even as a vice president of operations. My phone never shuts off. It's on 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And I tell everyone that works for me, from the customer experience person who picks up the phone to my general manager, everyone in between, and including Nathan, you can call me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can call me about marital problems. I'll listen to you. If you want my advice, I'll give you what my advice is. It might not be very good because, I'm on my second marriage. But I'll do what I can do to help you. The only time you can't call me is if you've had too much to drink, because I don't talk to drunks. But I will talk to anybody else at any time, day or night, no matter what I'm doing. And, my wife understands that. My kids always understood that. I mean, hell, I pitched a coach pitch baseball game for my son one time with the phone on my ear, hanging on my shoulder, because everybody had flip phones, You do what you have to do because it's the right thing to do. And when people understand that, they respect you, they know where you're coming from. That day that general manager acted like that, I quit the next day. I can't work for a guy that doesn't want me to call him at 11 o'clock at night because he needs his beauty sleep.
Right.
Come on, what makes you better than me? I'm the one that's out there with the customer. And I remember when I was quitting, and I did my exit interview. They said, "Why are you quitting?" I said, "Because I can't work for someone that doesn't believe what I believe. If you don't believe what I believe, and you don't understand what's going on, and you're not trying to do the right thing, and you treat people like they're less than you, then I can't be a part of that."
Yeah, I mean, obviously you get it, and I think a lot of company owners need to get it really fast, or
yeah, they do.
Because at the end of the day, when you take care of the customers and you take care of them the right way, like those become your lifetime value customers. Like I see a lot of people in the way they do business, and I'm like, we want to talk about lifetime value and throw that into some of these forecasted numbers that we're looking at from a marketing perspective. But it's like, when I see the way that the technicians they go rogue, and, one's doing it one way, one's doing another, I'm like, there's no true lifetime value here, because you don't know from day to day which one of these customers you're going to be able to retain, because they're not truly putting themselves in those customers' shoes. And I think it's just basic understanding, that somebody just wants to feel that they're taken care of. And if they are taken care of, then they're going to want to continue to do business with you. And price really doesn't matter to most of those people, because if they
price is never the issue.
That's right.
If price is the issue, you didn't show some value, or you didn't do the right thing.
Yeah, you're right. So let's talk about EBITDA, and you like to maximize EBITDA. What are some of the, I guess, KPI or trigger points that you focus on to make sure that you're maximizing that number?
Okay, so this is really my weakest spot, and but I understand where I need to be at, and so I try to hit somewhere between 18 and 23% on an average.
Okay,
and so I do it all through technician tracking, because that's where my revenue comes in at, and knowing what my overhead is. So I track fuel costs very closely. As fuel goes up, in fact, I remember on Facebook the other day, I remember somebody said, "Well, we're going to start charging a surcharge for fuel." Well, why would you do that? Just look at what your fuel went up. What part of your fuel is eating up your gross revenue? And if it went up 3%, just raise your prices 3%. Why do you have to have a surcharge? What does a surcharge do? I put a surcharge on the ticket, and the customer looks at me and goes, "A surcharge? What is that? You've already charged me a service fee to come out here. Now you're going to charge me a surcharge to do business with you?" Just raise your prices by whatever percentage it is. So that's what my CPA does, is he helps me understand the EBITDA and how we're getting there and what it takes. But just like anything else, once you understand where you want to be on your EBITDA, then you know what you got to have revenue, and then you know what you got to have per technician revenue. Once I know where my revenue needs to be, then I know based on what percentage each one of my guys can do, I know what part of the revenue they're responsible for. And then I take that down to what I normally do in a month. And so I've got this whole tracking report that I do that it says in January, I bring in 3% of my total revenue for the year. And July, I might bring in 8%, whatever it might be.
Okay.
And so I do that, and I divide it by how many days are going to be in that month and that year. And I know for that year, how many days are going to be in that month, actual work days, not holidays and weekends. I don't count weekends ever. And I break that down. It's usually between 20 and 22 days in the month. And then by that technician's percentage on what he normally brings in, I know what he needs to bring in on every month. And then I break that down by the days. And so I know what his daily average needs to be. And then I do that by 3 calls per day. So I know what his average ticket needs to run. And every month they come in or at the end of every month, they come in and I can discuss their next month. I let them know what they did for the month that we're in. And sometimes they don't hit it. I mean, sometimes they don't. And we discuss why, what happened, what's going on here. And the key is to have that open door policy like I have, where a technician could just walk in and say, you know, whatever I'm doing, I will stop what I'm doing to engage with him and understand what he needs. And if you do this on a daily basis with your guy, and if you're doing it call by call, that's the key. If you're doing it call by call, you don't have to adjust midweek to fix everything. You know on Monday what's going wrong on Monday. Right. Fix Monday before you get to Tuesday. Don't be a dumbass.
Yeah.
When you get to Tuesday, fix Tuesday before you get to Wednesday. And you'll find out when you get to Friday, you've had 4 great days in a row. Oh, hell, what happened now? Now you're making even more money than you projected.
So on the call-by-call management and the sales over the phone system, what is your process if they do the repair? What is your callback process? If they select a system you're selling over the phone, and then what are some other over the phone techniques that you guys are using as far as communication and touch and base with the customer?
So I believe in the outbound call process. It's outbound sales. And so any ticket that's $1,200 or less on any ticket,
okay,
that person looks at it. They go to the general manager, myself, whoever. They go over it, and we look at the customer spend history. We know everything that's going on with it. And if the customer has a lot of spend history with us, then we didn't do the right thing by doing the repair. Because if they've put, if somebody's put more than $1,000 a year in their AC unit, they need a new unit. And so you look at it, you start deciding what you want to do with it. And a lot of times what we'll do is when they call back into the customer, especially on a zero ticket call, it's a little bit easier. So let's do that one. On the zero ticket call, that's a MFO or DFO. They make the phone call. It starts out as a happy call. You talk about, did my technician wear his floor savers? Did he have his PPE on? Whenever he touched your wall, did he have gloves or latex gloves on? Did he clean up after himself? Did he lay out his rugs? You ask all these questions that are important that the customer knows that we mean to keep their home clean. And then you start talking to them about, did the technician explain everything to you? Oh, by the way, Mrs. Jones, I realized that he gave you 5 solutions, but you didn't pick the solution. May I ask which solution did you like the best while he was out there? Oh, I like the number 3 solution. Well, since you like the number 3 solution, do you mind telling me why you didn't pick it while he was out there? Well, my husband wasn't here and I didn't have a chance to talk to him about it. Well, have you had a chance to talk to him now? Or they might say, I just didn't feel like I had the money for it. So explain to me what that means, Mrs. Jones, about not having the money for it. Is your home comfort and the health of your home, is spending $2,200, is that too expensive for your home? Well, no, I just, we had some bills come up, or we had the hospital bill, or we got a vacation coming up. My son's fixing to go to college. You don't know what it is that's going to cause them not to feel like they have the money. Okay, well, did my technician talk to you about our finance options? We have this one finance option that is, 36 months, no interest, same as cash. Well, I didn't realize y'all had that. Absolutely. Do you want to see if you qualify for it so we can get this taken care of? And that's how you go into it.
So, and I mean, obviously that's a great customer experience. It's a way also for y'all to be able to learn and be able to get better yourself, because
There you go, right there, right there.
yeah,
That's the key.
right.
Everybody thinks it's about the sell, right?
Yeah.
But the one I really like is when the customer tells me why they didn't buy from us, and it's a reason that I can fix.
Absolutely. I mean, it's no different than when an employee's leaving and doing the exit strategy. If they answer honestly and you're not learning and growing from it, then you're the problem.
No, you're the dumbass, that's for sure.
So in that solution, it's like, well, we learned where we can get better because obviously our technician did not offer the financing options for this low cost repair and could have closed the deal number 3 right then and there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So we're getting to the top of the hour and we're going to be closing things out. Kelly, any final, things that maybe we didn't touch on that you would like to tell any contractor out there, any piece of advice that you feel in your 40 plus years of doing this, what's one thing that you could tell them that they could implement right now in their business today and it would make an impact as soon as they implemented it?
5 solutions. You have to give the customer a chance to make a decision. You have to educate your customer to make a decision, and don't do it like options. Don't do it sales options. I hate the word options. It's not options, it's solutions. If they're not solutions, then you're just selling something.
Right.
So you give them 5 solutions, and you tell them, I'm giving you 5 solutions because I want you to be educated enough to have the healthiest home you can have and the most comfortable home you can have. And that's why they have air conditioning. It's for the health and comfort of their home. It's as simple as that.
I love it. Well, Kelly, let me get one final picture here of you and I.
Be sure to send me a copy.
I will do. I'll send Nathan one as well. So,
sounds good.
Kelly, I appreciate the time. It's been a pleasure. There's been some huge value bombs that you've given today that I can't wait to share with other contractors. So I appreciate it, and I'll be coming your way soon, and we'll go grab some lunch, me, you, and Nathan.
Oh, hell yeah. Sounds good, man.
I appreciate it. Have a good one. Thank you.
Have a good day.
All right.
All right, bye.